Welcome to Tales by Tyrell, where every tale has a twinkle of wonder and a sprinkle of wisdom. Today's story is about a kingdom where change began with a mother's gentle voice and two children who were destined to rule, not just with power, but with heart. Once upon a time, in a faraway kingdom nestled between whispering woods and golden mountains, there stood a castle with walls as white as winter clouds and towers that kissed the towers. This was the kingdom of Lysandra, ruled by King Alderon, brave, proud, and honored across all lands, and Queen Evelyn, whose wisdom was known to calm storms and make roses bloom in winter. The castle had everything: enchanted mirrors, talking owls, meadows where fireflies danced in daylight. But the king and queen's greatest treasures were their two children: Prince Elion, born with a voice like thunder and eyes like stormy skies, and Princess Selene, with a laugh that could tame dragons and eyes like twilight dew. They were twins, born under the phoenix eclipse, a rare event the stargazers called a mark of shared destiny. As the children grew, so did their expectations. The king, believing in tradition, carved out two very different worlds for his son and daughter. For Elian, the sound of clashing swords, galloping hooves, and ancient war scrolls echoed through his days. He trained with the royal knights, learned battle cries, and was taught to ride griffins before he could even spell the word. For Selene, her world was softer. She learned how to sew with golden thread spun from moon silk spiders. She painted with crushed sapphires, baked healing bread with cinnamon from the enchanted east, and practiced the grace of queenship, silent, poised, perfect. The castle was large, but slowly the gap between the twins grew larger. Celine watched Elaine from her tower window, eyes full of longing as he disappeared into the wild woods, bow in hand. Elion, in return, would slow his horse to smell the scent of fresh berry pies drifting from the kitchen, secretly wishing he could taste the stories that only Celine's world seemed to hold. They never said a word, until one night the sky changed everything. It was the night of the Starfall, a sacred festival where wishes whispered to the sky were said to come true. The twins met in the garden beneath the ancient wishing tree, its leaves glowing silver in the dark. "I wish," whispered Celine, "I could hold a sword without being scolded." "I wish," Elian said, "I knew how to comfort a crying child like you do." Suddenly, the leaves rustled. A soft breeze chilled, and from within the bark of the tree appeared a hidden door, one the queen herself had sealed long ago. Inside, they found the mirror of the heart, a forgotten relic. It showed not who they were, but who they could become. Celine saw herself in armor, leading armies and dancing with wind spirits. Elian saw himself healing a wounded deer, guiding villagers, and writing lullabies. Their hands touched, no words, but everything changed. The queen, watching from her tower, saw the change in her children. The next morning, she entered the king's war chamber, where maps covered the walls and old customs ruled decisions. "My lord," she said gently, "we are not raising a prince and a princess. We are raising future rulers." The king scoffed. "Celine is gentle, Elian is strong. The world needs order." "The world," she replied softly, "needs balance, and they need each other." She spoke not with rebellion, but with ancient wisdom passed down through queens who once ruled when kings were lost to war. The king fell silent, for deep in his heart he knew tradition was not greater than truth, and so a new order was born. The palace halls rang with strange new sounds and beautiful ones. Celine, in her emerald armor, sped beside her brother under the waterfall of swords. Her braid flew like a banner. Elian, in an apron too large for his frame, laughed as flour burst into the air. His hands healed burns, stitched torn robes, and baked bread that made the court weep with joy. Together, they learned diplomacy, history, carpentry, firecraft, and storytelling. They built shelters for traveling merchants. They comforted crying children during stormy nights. They were not prince and princess, they were partners in destiny. On the day they turned 18, the sun rose brighter than ever before. Crowds gathered from all corners of Lysandra. Magical creatures flew overhead. Bells rang in every village, but no one expected what came next. Instead of crowning one heir, the king stepped back. And for the first time in the kingdom's history, two crowns were lifted, one for Elion, one for Selene. Two rulers side by side, not divided by gender, but united by wisdom, strength, and shared purpose. The people cheered, the land rejoiced, and in the heavens the phoenix eclipse returned, sealing the moment in the stars. And so the kingdom of Lysandra flourished under the reign of two hearts, where no child was told what they couldn't be, only what they could become. Because when we teach children every skill, not by their gender, but by their soul, we give them the wings to rule not just a kingdom, but the future. If this story lit a spark in your heart, dear listener, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Tales by Title. Return soon for more tales where magic meets meaning.